cool.
Oh, I have Valkyrie Elysium?
Yeah.
I do. I have a plan to play all the Valkyrie games eventually.
Oh yeah. I can't believe they made Valkyrie Elysium sequel to Disco Elysium.
Man, what a
this is
switch.
the weirdest duology since the Guardians. There's Rise of the Guardians, Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of Ga'Hoole. What the hell?
Oh god.
Too many Guardians. We need to cut back on the Guardians.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything needs protected. So,
but we don't have enough. We don't have enough Guardians for the budget.
Jonas says
we
hi
have
to
too
the
many
friends.
We have too many Guardians. Also, hello.
Hi YouTube.
It's not YouTube. Goddamn.
It's Twitch, right?
You,
well,
you
we'll
say
be
it every
eventually.
time.
It'll go on YouTube. I watch all the YouTube videos.
You watch all of our VODs?
Yes, I watch all of them in my several times in my spare time.
Thanks, Al. You're really bumping up my view count, giving me the YouTube bucks.
I am all of the viewer numbers. I am all of them.
Oh
no,
my God.
I'm at least
there,
one.
It's fine. It's alright. It's okay. It's
No.
right. It's good.
Toaster.
I'm in control. I'm in control.
What did I do? I didn't do nothing.
Okay.
I have a whole.
We're all good.
Everything's good. Everything's fine.
I have a whole fresh box of didn't do nothings.
Oh dear God! What if that same thing happens again, where you guys both switch controllers?
Don't worry about it. Don't speak that evil into the universe.
Yeah, we have to talk to
whisper it sweetly.
Inside
Introduce that into the universe. All right, who are you?
Oh, hello, you
cuties. Oh yeah,
it's a game.
No, keep going.
How'd you like a game with little old me? If you think I'll be a pushover just because I'm a woman, you're going to get burned.
Oh my!
Go, some good old fashioned RPG sexism.
What is the game?
I'm plenty tougher than any of the lousy men around here.
What is the game?
I'm plenty tougher than any of the men around here.
Being the toughest woman. That's the game.
Wait, no, you should do it again. You should ask her again.
I should. I'll ask her on the way out. I'll ask her on the way out.
I'm so confused.
Oh, it's this guy.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yes, have we met somewhere?
Rogu.
Convenient time for
He's like my
amnesia.
pasta sauce.
I know somebody who can fix that for you.
Amnesia? I'm terribly sorry, but this is the first time we've met.
Are you crazy?
Magistrate, your crimes are undeniable. These people have seen everything.
As I've just been explaining, someone had assumed my identity and was trying to ruin my reputation.
My evil twin, the evil twin gambit.
It was most
bold.
upsetting.
Liar!
Bagu.
I saw those people you fed to the monsters with my own 2 eyes.
Well, Sir Flynn, who are you to believe?
Plot twist, she only has one eye.
Or me, a member of the council?
Do you trust me?
Flynn.
Or Joe?
Joe who?
Joe! From Family Guy.
Ah! Not a Family Guy reference on my Christian stream.
Joe Swanson. Do you trust Joe Swanson or him? I would trust him over Joe Swanson any day.
Ah, damn, we don't count as witnesses. We're 2 ruffians.
Yeah.
To be fair,
We're too cool. Too badass.
Even with his magic, Joe Swanson stands a definite chance.
He thinks he's not the guy. How is his hilt doing that? He's not the guy. Who the
hell is this guy?
I was wondering that. I was wondering who he was. Sitting over there.
This is...
Fuck is this guy?
This is hand to mouth? What?
This is His Royal Highness Yoder, candidate for the Imperial throne.
That's
oh shit, he's a prince. He's
That's
a prince.
Silly name. Yeah, but his name's
Rita's
Yoder.
Rita's like, oh fuck.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'm getting the fuck away from here.
She's just embarrassed that his name's Yoder.
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 What?
Ugh, I would hate to have that name.
I'm only one of the candidates.
Oh,
I would also hate to have the name Hubert.
The previous emperor, Master Yoder
Hubert?
the throne.
Dubert or Lubert too.
Hubert Dubert Do.
Scoobert
Really?
Yes.
Damn it. My headphones
An
can't reach.
alleged Imperial heir captured by a so-called magistrate. That's interesting.
I see. Then this incident means that
A little too juicy for public consumption, huh?
I just...
It's got something to do with your decision to leave the castle, doesn't it? Do whatever you want. I've got no interest in an empire that just sits and does nothing while its people suffer in plain sight.
Damn.
The Empire is always the bad guy.
And what have you
Yeah.
changed by turning your back on such an
I mean,
empire?
establishment really is the enemy.
We need
Always,
just
forever.
laws laid down by the government to
There's
ensure
never a
that
situation
laws
where
of
anyone wants to
stability and
side
peace.
with the corporate.
It's true.
Though this isn't really corporate, this is just
Feudalism.
feudalism. Yeah.
Those same laws just let Rago walk out that door.
I think it's feudalism. Right.
Which is why you and I became knights, Yuri, to change things like that. If we couldn't make it happen by yelling about it from below, then we said we'd gain honor and trust and fix the empire from within. Remember?
So,
Yeah, remember the
to
Ova?
get ahead in life,
Nope.
Eh?
I'm supposed to stand by while somebody feeds little kids to monsters?
I remember there was a bad
Is
guy.
that it? You want me to look the other way when our people in the lower quarter are being bled dry by taxes? It's because I can't do those things that I quit being a knight.
I know, but has anything changed because you quit?
Ugh.
How is anything different than it was before you joined the Knights?
Wait, I'm coming too.
All right, someone's got to be Carol. I mean, he said he was
Done it
coming,
again.
but then he just stood there.
Didn't.
I only want for him to move on with his life, to quit sitting around.
Flynn,
There's gonna be a lot of awkward staring the more teammates we get during cutscenes.
My
Oh, hell yeah.
apologies for such an embarrassing scene.
What do you intend to do next?
would it be alright if I go with him?
No.
Why?
It never,
Stay
it never
here.
was.
I feel like so much has changed during my travels with Yuri. The Empire, the world. I've changed as well.
Rita's thinking how she's gonna mug the prince
Lady Estelle.
like a thief.
Understood.
Now that guy's nothing.
You there, young man.
I mean, we like rescued him from
Who?
the Chancellor.
Me?
Or
Yeah,
who
she
the hell
didn't
was-
though. She didn't rescue him. That was all. What's his name?
Yuri.
Vespa man, Mr. Vespa. Yeah.
Tell
Yuri.
Yuri to take good
Yeah,
care
Mr.
of
Vespa.
this young lady.
Okay.
John
Is it really
Vesperia.
alright?
I would rather do the job myself, but I'm afraid my current duties won't allow it. And as long as you're with him, I can be certain you'll be safe.
No, you can't.
You believe in him.
You don't
you?
know how many times she's died.
I do.
We don't talk
The
about
guys
those.
are finished. Can we get going? We'll lose him if we don't hurry.
They didn't happen.
No.
Shit, we're gonna lose your.
Only Yuri's death can. Ow! My
Yeah,
fist.
fuck that wall.
Tomorrow's headed to me. And
Damn,
rather than
I
any
fucking-
way, nothing's
Ugh.
changed.
Infrastructure gets me so angry.
Tear it down.
Tear down the infrastructure.
Damn, this wall's so hard.
I guess I should
Whoa.
look for clues about the Blastio Core.
Parted
Yeah,
with
with-
everyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess
Yuri
we-
solo.
Yeah, we did all that for no reason. We're not even going to need you guys for this.
Yeah,
The way
we can
he
just
looks,
solo the
maybe
final
should
boss
stick
with
out
him.
Like a sore thumb walking around in town. But it'd sure help if anyone saw where he and his gang were headed.
Oh,
Come to
shit.
think of it, I wonder what happened to Raven back in Rago's palace. I guess he panicked and ran when the Dragon Rider and the Knights showed up.
Oh, I can't ask her about her game.
Yeah, Flynn's there.
Far off on this continent to the west is the den of our guilds. They call it Dangrest. Visit sometime.
Dawngrest. I think that's how
Come
they
up
say
and
it.
see me sometime. Someone in town must know about the Blastio Core.
That
Yes.
means you gotta talk to everyone.
Hey, but I'm antisocial. I'm an introvert. Welcome. Plenty of healthy catches here. Thanks for dropping by. Okay.
Alright, man.
It's okay. Video games allow us to not be introverts.
No, I'm still introverted. I'm scared. Welcome, welcome. How do you like to show me some of your memories? 1 memory, 5 gold. Huh? Too cheap? What does that mean?
Sell him your memories, obviously.
Does he have like a
You wanna
hammer?
give
He's gonna
me-
beat him out of me? Child,
No, you
do you
should-
know about Blastia cores? My friend,
A friend.
a town called Lord. It's supposed to be a new town that the Empire made. I'm sorry, I stepped all over your lines there.
Hey man, do you know anything about Blastia cores?
The sailors! Can I do...
Oh,
Go
okay.
on.
The sailors in my day had a bit more zest to them, you know?
They were so zesty.
Young folk nowadays are good for nothing.
They're like Cool Ranch Doritos, just
Oh, damn,
maximum
is this-
zest.
Is this Japan?
No goddamn.
Too political, I'm sorry.
Rago closed down the Papua North port, and now we can't even run our.
We're
mining
so quiet, Ghosty.
That's the point. I am just a quiet guy.
I think you talked to this guy in the last video.
I did, but I didn't ask about the Blastia cores. You hear rumors about the battered old ship nobody's never seen before, sailing the seas with not a single soul on board. If in your plan to get out on the ocean, ye be careful now.
Yeepee.
BBGBs.
Ship from this port, you'll be able to see the continent Dessier on your right, then Hipponia on your. Hippionia?
Hippionia.
Hipagno.
Okay. There's a Coliseum City in Dessier, you know. I'd like to go there someday. Oh,
I've seen quite a few... Sorry.
There you go.
You wanna...
You go.
Okay. I've seen quite a few men row off to sea in a boat. None of them have been back since. They didn't want to visit
They're
me
just all
anymore.
avoiding you. They're all avoiding this man. Oh, hey, Blastia. You see that barrier, Blastia? It's the twin of the one in Capu Noir. A long time ago, there was a third for Capu Duo out in the ocean, and they were all one. Okay. This is Fortune's Market Stock Warehouse. It's a mess in there, trust me, you don't want to see it. I want to see it. Damn.
Yeah, I can't.
On ships a delight. A ship allows one to travel so very many places. Thrills, mystery, spectacle, all mine.
We don't own the ocean, lady.
Ah, doesn't the sea breeze feel wonderful on your flesh?
okay.
And the sun is... and the sun is shining so bright. Oh, the sea is the best.
Did you make it? Did you change it to make it rhyme better?
I made it better, yeah.
You made it better. Thank you for improving the game.
Dang
It's
it.
locked.
It's locked.
Why is
But
it
this is
locked?
an RPG. I'm supposed to be able to invade people's houses and privacy. Oh, it's an
The
orphanage. Ah, fuck the orphanage. Fuck that.
Did we talk to this guy?
It looks like I might be foreshadowed of retirement.
Oh yeah. People
Damn.
have two dialogues if you talk to them twice, I think.
Oh, okay.
What did this guy
So- The guild is a port of bridges connects your guild to the warriors. We're going to travel across the seas, continents, and rule the entire world.
God damn.
Okay.
So we've talked to everyone.
I think we missed a few people.
No, we've talked to him. We've talked to her.
Oh, hey,
talked
it's
to this
Raven!
guy, we've talked
Oh, wait,
to
no!
her. Talked to
Raven's-
him. Huh?
Raven's a new
Raven?
person. No, Raven's back.
Raven! It's been so long! Many
No.
different guilds make their headquarters here. It's the most powerful something. Alright, so the bit's over. Raven! Fortune Market uses this town. I'm sorry, base of operations. That's the word, yep. Just all the words. Child! Are you Raven? Not Raven. Alright.
Yay.
Him.
There he
Oh.
goes.
Oh. Not him.
Just walked up right up on him.
Hey there. Long time no see.
His voice just never fits.
Isn't there something else you should be saying? Something else? Can't think of anything. Well, they say the deceived have better memories than the deceivers, don't they? I'm just terribly misunderstood. You need to see a doctor for your tendency to unconsciously cause trouble to others. You might see if you can get that foul mouth of yours checked out, too. You gotta come back for everything, huh? If you don't stop putzing around, the Knights are gonna throw you back in jail. Ha! The Knights are a bit too busy to bother with me. I saw a rough-looking guild group moving to the northwest not too long ago. The Knights can't just turn a blind eye to them, can they? Rough-looking, you say? Was it the Blood Alliance? Beats me. By the way, what was your business back there? Nothing special. I was looking for an apatheia. What is an apatheia? Supposed to be like a really strong core. Heard that it was there, but I guess I had the wrong information. I see. An apatheia.
Oh, Yuri! Hey!
Nothing apatheia matter with you.
I'll get you, old man!
Oh, here she comes.
Maybe I'd best be off now. Yep, the Amazonas has emerged.
The Amazonas.
Wait! Damn it!
Is she Jeff Bezos in disguise? We may never know.
Why'd you let him get away?
He said he's terribly misunderstood.
What? What does that mean? You got away! I'll catch that bugger one of these days.
That's the answer to the question.
You should leave him be. Going up against that kind of guy is just a waste of energy. You alright?
Just let me take a little break.
Sure, you can have a little one. Then we've got to go.
Go? Go where?
We need to follow the Blood Alliance to get back the lower quarters Blastia.
Did you get a lead on where to go next?
I heard that a shady group from a guild was headed to the northwest. It might be them.
That's so vague.
To the northwest of here. The only city I can think of in that direction would be one that was destroyed in an earthquake.
What could they want to do in a place like that?
Fix it. Also, hello, Repeat. Welcome back.
And yet, you still want to go?
I'm just saying we should go and check it out.
Hey, the gang's back
United.
together.
And it feels so good.
Does it? Shivers.
The breeze that blows in a port city makes everything feel so different. It smells like the sea.
Stand in the ocean wind too long and you'll get covered in salt, you know.
Thank you for ruining my mood.
Hey, feel free to get all sticky and gross. I won't stop you.
Thanks, Rita.
Yeah, the best. Rita's just the greatest of friends. Oh.
Rita's the sickest.
Yeah. Now let's play these
Pull up.
games.
Oh shit. Oh, hello, you cuties. How would you like a game with little old me? If you think I'll be a pushover just because you think I'm a woman, you're going to get burned hard.
What kind of game is this?
I'm plenty tougher than any of the lousy men around here.
Then she repeats that.
It's a good game of punch face.
I'm plenty tougher than any of the lousy men around here. I'm plenty tougher than any of the lousy men around here.
I still don't understand this game.
I'm plenty tougher than the lousy men around here.
It's saying the same thing over and over again.
I'm
That's the
plenty
game.
tougher than any of the lousy men here. I can't keep it up forever. If only I could.
Now we have a save, so we can come back here and talk to her whenever we want.
Yeah,
I'm
just like the
tougher than
Curry
any of the
save.
lousy men
Just like
around
the-
here.
Oh god.
I'm tougher than any of them.
Yeah, cover Toaster's mouth, please.
You can hear her.
Oh,
She's yelling it. She's yelling it.
he's yelling it. Oh no.
All right, northwest.
Ah,
Oh, that's a lizard.
Ah,
Wait,
it's a lizard.
You saw that lizard before. Hello,
It's a
lizard.
lizard.
Kill it. Oh shit, I'm playing a game.
I'm gonna make
You
Oh
are.
shit. What are my abilities? Ah, fuck you.
It's I switched it all to thief, to steal.
Oh, it's a crab. Ah, fuck. I get fucking comboed by a crab.
All I have to do is press the X button to cancel. I don't need to.
Oh,
press
just
the
guard?
One.
Yeah, just guard
Okay.
it.
These are the threads that weave our
Spirits.
That's good.
She's gonna get drunk.
There are some really good moments where you have to not cast dog
Oh.
language.
Dog
Repeat's
language.
getting really good at handling items, don't you think?
Yeah, but I don't want to eat any gels that have been in a dog's mouth.
He said, come on, don't be like that. If things go bad, take it.
That's one big mouth he's... Wait a minute. Did he really say that? All I heard him do was bark.
Stick around long enough and you'll figure him out. Right, Repeat?
You look a little jealous, Rita.
No way.
Oh, did we find it? The northwest?
This is north and west.
Oh, no, it's them again.
Oh, hey, guys. Welcome, good travelers. Would you like to stop and rest? I don't know why I have this old-ass lady voice.
Huh? An inn.
It's the King of Adventure Travelers Lodge.
Oh, your voice changed.
I know,
Stop and
it's
rest.
crazy. Oh, big brother, you're ever so blunt.
It's
Here.
a carriage and inn in one?
Smoke this blunt. Take it.
Do you want to be Estelle?
Who?
Yeah, didn't you give Estelle a
It's-
voice? Like a
Yeah.
like an
great
accent or
voice.
something?
The best voice. You know the
What?
Estelle voice.
Oh yeah, what wonderful work you do.
Oh.
That's not the Estelle voice.
That's the right one, right?
That's correct. That's perfectly right. You've done it. You've done it again. Oh,
I'm gonna die.
Toasty, you did it again.
You travel the world and run an inn at the same time.
I'm rich.
I'm Karen.
Oh, that's your name. I thought he was bragging.
Would you like to rest before heading out again?
Like, you would have to be pretty wealthy to have a carriage that works as an inn. Imagine
Wait, where the fuck is-
maintenance.
Where the fuck is Rita?
It doesn't matter. No one cares about Rita.
Yeah. No one cares about Rita.
I agree. I'm kind of tired out myself.
Oh well then, we'll take you up on your offer.
I'm gonna die.
Please make yourselves at home. Fuck.
Hiya! Hiya!
No, he's saying it. Yeah.
No!
That's a pretty ancient looking sword. It looks like every other sword. The blade's gotten really dull too. It's no longer anything more than an antique, unfit to cut man or beast. That sword really important to you? It belonged to someone I respect. I can't just get rid of it.
You can.
Rich, it seems like you're not running a traveling in just for the heck of it, am I right?
Pff. You shouldn't be so nosy, Carol. It's all right. I'm a warrior, not an innkeeper. I left my village with Karen to slay giganto monsters. I was 15 at the time. When you were 15, how old are you now? I'm 28. 13 years, huh? That's pretty long.
The Giganto monster. That's the name of a giant type of monster living all over the world. I heard that an extermination force sent by the Empire to kill them was entirely wiped out.
Does he have an encyclopedia in his bag? Is that where he's getting all this?
He knows about every
single
monster.
Until every single one of those monsters has fallen, I cannot go back to my hometown.
Why is that?
Dots. Sounds like there's something you're not telling us.
Maybe we can help? It seems like you're having a tough time of it.
But you see... I don't know the details, but you committed to doing this yourself, didn't you? Yeah. That sounds like this is up to him, Carol.
Yeah.
Dots. And then they robbed us.
Yawn.
Did you sleep well?
Yeah, slept like a trick yo-yo.
The fuck does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, you know how a yo-yo, you just leave it there and it looks like
No.
like a rock?
No. I don't. I don't understand this.
You can't trick me, Yo-Yo. I've figured you out.
Yo-yo ball. It's so much fun and easy to do. Give it a flick and it comes back to you.
Oh, the commercial? That sounds like a commercial.
That is a commercial.
I knew it.
What are we doing? Oh, yeah. If you ever happen to see us around again, please stop and say hello, music note. Yes. Thank you so much. You're so kind.
Later.
Later. Big brother, I keep telling you, try to be more friendly.
Maybe we should have helped them.
Nah.
We can't solve all the world's problems by ourselves. We're not like we're some protagonists or anything. Though, if we ever happen to run into those monsters that he was talking about, we might as well take them out for him. I don't see any problem with doing that much.
Yeah, alright.
Hey, Carol, do you know anything else about that city you said was destroyed in an earthquake?
Just rumors.
How they all blink at
Supposedly it was
once.
some guild's headquarters about
Or
10
no,
years ago.
Which
Not
guild was
everyone.
that?
Sometimes.
Sorry, I can't help you there.
I've never heard of an earthquake that destroyed an entire city.
Well,
Yeah,
Vesperia
sometimes
is
they
across
sync
the
up.
ocean. Maybe the information just never made it that far?
I wonder.
Ocean Man, take me by the hand.
What? That's not the way I wanted to go. I wanted to go this way, across the
No, that-
bridge.
Take me by the land.
No,
What?
the end's in the way. We can't go.
Yeah, no. So I start from here. Walk, walk, walk. Other side.
I see what you mean.
No!
Unfortunately,
No!
they played the Uno.
It's impossible!
They played the Uno reverse card. What if you went backwards?
That's true. Let's find out.
Return to field map. Oh shit.
My
They played the
mind
Uno
is
reverse
breaking apart! Everything I know is a lie!
We have to go northwest.
That is northwest!
Not that way.
This is northeast.
It's blocked.
Joe Mother is northwest. See? Look, it's Joe.
Joe who?
Joe Lizard.
Ah!
Joe Jolien.
Of the famous Joe Jolien anime?
Yeah. Which I don't think is an anime.
It's not. That's why it's so famous. It's the only anime that's not an anime.
Years before you can beat me.
Because you've lived.
Oh man.
How does that work?
So can you not use your funny ring of power on
I cannot.
the field?
I cannot zip them. I can't do it in the fight either, which is really sad.
Sorry. I need
That's
to.
fine.
I need to.
Oh yeah,
need to
Burrito.
know their
That's pretty
name.
important.
We're done.
Did you see that combo?
No.
Aw.
I don't see combo.
I got salmon though.
I uppercutted that bitch into Rita's black void thing.
Nice.
Oh.
Congratulations. You did come. Oh my goodness.
Oh. What? Oh. It's context sensitive weather. Birds?
Burb.
Burb.
Kill it. Kill it.
Murder the burbs.
I don't know why.
That seems good to me. What is that? It's like a slug salamander.
What? That just looked like a pufferfish to me.
Ah.
Holy shit. We're going to question mark, question mark, question mark.
Ah, it's my
This is
favorite
it.
place.
The destroyed city.
The Fallen
Fallen.
City. You got it wrong. And
Hey,
you call
you're-
yourself a Vesperia fan. A
Hey, you're
likely
Cram.
story.
This is a total wreck.
Do you seriously think anybody
Hello,
would come to a place like this?
Harry.
I wonder
What?
if we've been fed some false information again.
Well, not anymore.
That's far enough. This area is under the jurisdiction of the hunting blades.
Wait, Carol's a hunting blade.
These
Is that
measures
Rita
have been
again?
taken to prevent the injury of innocent bystanders.
Is that Rita again?
It might be.
Nan!
Nan?
Right.
Like the
I
bread?
finally found you! Are the Chief and Tyson with you? Have you guys been getting along okay without me?
Don't take that buddy-buddy tone with me.
Aw, don't be like that. I only got a little lost.
A little lost. That's a good one. You know you just ran away.
I didn't run away, I swear!
Still making excuses, huh?
It's not an excuse. I beat an egg bear just like I said I would.
More lies.
I mean it!
Is this how you repay being taken in by the hunting blades? Remind me who it was that said, "I swear I won't run away this time." You always run and hide at the first sign of trouble. You've been kicked out of every guild in the book.
Shut up! You shut your mouth!
Huh! Even we've already fired you.
Wait!
You have been warned by the hunting blades. Leave this area at once. If you fail to heed this warning, you do so at the risk of your own lives.
Nan!
This still doesn't explain what the hunting blades are doing here.
Good point. Rita, wait! Are you forgetting about the warning?
She never said we weren't allowed to enter.
But what about the risking our lives part?
Are you implying that I should listen to that brat? Don't make me laugh.
At any rate, the Blood
Ooh,
Alliance
tell
doesn't
him.
seem to
Ooh.
be here. Let's have a look.
Kill him.
Hi. What's up?
Huh?
How are you?
Hi. What's up?
Carol going through depression.
Man, why did it have to end up like this?
Is that what depression looks like?
They said I was fired.
Carol, keep your spirits up.
I can't be happy anymore. It's like her words are a dagger in my heart.
She was just worried it'd be too dangerous for you. There's still hope.
Huh? You think so? Whatever. I don't care about what she thinks.
The problem is your guild, right? I get it.
Right. Yeah. I don't care about Nan.
This
Like the
hurts
grandma?
to watch. I'm rooting for you, Carol.
She said that so angrily.
I'm rooting for you, Carol. Oh, can you do
Yeah,
it?
get him. Yeah, get him. There it is.
You've done it.
I feel like an easy
like a
win.
slug.
Don't get cocky.
What are those things in the back? Oh, the adults.
Yeah.
Innocent waters. That's no good.
Melee Rita.
What?
Wait.
You want revenge? Bring it!
Salmon.
Sure.
Steve,
Hey, you got
title
the Grand Mage.
You want to be a
Right.
Grand Mage?
Wait. What is my title now?
It's the Master of Games or something. How do I do it?
Status? Status, I think? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
New Dice
Master.
Yeah, I'll be Grand Mage. Fuck it.
Oh.
Was this town really destroyed by an earthquake? The buildings all look kind of strange.
Yeah, they don't look like they collapsed from the ground shaking. Something's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe the ground just shook
So,
really,
how
really
were they
hard.
Destroyed then?
Got me. Maybe we can find out by asking someone who used to live in the town.
That's not really why we're here, though, so why should we care?
You actually have a point there.
If it shook really hard, then the buildings would have just collapsed harder. What? Question mark. Wait, did you check it? No, check it. No, don't shoot it. Oh.
What sort of Blastia is this?
Hey, get your grubby mitts off it.
Of course, it's slightly different from the norm, but it looks like a type of warp blastia. Its activating mechanism is... let's see...
Huh?
What's the matter?
There's no activation switch. It's properly equipped with a core, and it doesn't look like it's the type where you can activate it by removing the core.
So maybe there's an activation switch located somewhere else?
Perhaps, if there were another Blastia like this one in this town, it wouldn't be too unusual for there to be some device to manage all of them at once.
Oh, so we can't activate it then. Too bad.
Huh? Why is it too bad?
I just had a hunch it would lead to something interesting.
Blastia isn't a toy, you know.
Couldn't we just look for the device that's managing it?
Yes.
Sure, maybe we can find it.
Ah! It respawned! And we kill it again.
They know each other way too well.
They sure do.
What are you implying?
What do the hunting blades mainly do as a guild?
Like their name says, they make their living hunting monsters.
It's not like there's any shortage of monsters once you're outside the barriers. Business must be booming.
Yeah, they definitely
They don't
get a
blink
lot
while
of
they talk.
commissions. But the hunting blades aren't killing monsters just because someone asked them to.
Yeah.
Monsters are evil.
Do you?
This
Yep.
evil must be punished.
That's freak shit.
That's the creed of the hunting blades.
Oh no.
I wonder if any of them are doing it just for their own personal grudges against monsters.
Oh yeah, a lot of people. Like Nan's parents were killed right before her eyes when she was a kid.
Huh. And it'd be hard not to hold a grudge after something like that.
No. It's not gonna work.
But the stairs, there's so much more stair I haven't climbed.
Even if
Maybe
you
I'll
go up
get
to the
a
top of those...
May I get the title of Stair Master? Why?
No, Kerf, why?
Guess we can do this.
What was I supposed to do?
Not that.
I gotta try and keep up.
Where's Rita? Oh, there.
Rita's played by the NPC.
I know, but where was she was my question.
They know each other way too well.
Like, physically, where was she? I couldn't see her for the longest time.
Yeah, so the camera like pans out to view all the players, and Rita was not in the camera.
Right. I know, but she, like, the camera kept moving, and she kept not being there. It's locked. It's locked. That's what it means.
Not with a key though.
An
EP.
EP.
Give it to the Estelle.
I'm EP.
But she hasn't finished the item thrower.
Oh, then keep it. Keep Gladius.
That's a good one, though.
Yep. Estelle needs to do item thrower before we can change.
Don't get sloppy.
Umbrellas. Ella's.
Estella? Estelines?
Estelines?
You did it, Rita.
Yeah, I guess.
And you're so cool.
So cool.
A straw hat. What?
Oh, shit.
We
We're
can
Monkey
be
D.
One
Luffy.
Piece. We can be One Piece.
We can be the One Piece.
Yayo. Oh, wow. It's how...
How is it so much better than a steel helmet?
You know how it is.
Huh, it's one of those helmets that Repeat can actually wear. But,
And it's better
Repeat
by a
doesn't-
lot.
yeah. Repeat doesn't usually share a helmet with Carol or Yuri, so that's weird.
Let's see. That's only by 5, so let's give you this.
Thank you. Repeat with a straw hat. Yeah, what the hell is that circle then?
There's probably a building or some shit underneath. Or
Yeah,
magic shit.
That looks very sus.
Magic building shit.
Shouldn't you know?
I assume there's a building thing.
Maybe I'm withholding information to make the
shit!
playthrough.
You're lying to us! like a fibber.
Damn.
Put out your hand. Like this? Yay! What was that?
Maybe
Running all through my body.
skilled. Dog
Dog
Knight.
It looks like a dead end.
Should we head back?
It looks like a trapdoor.
Hold on.
A cellar.
I'm gonna have a look around. Weird. There's not a keyhole or anything.
Really?
Yuri, an amateur like you would never be able to open a door like...
Kick.
How does that work?
I wouldn't want Captain
He kicked
Carroll
it.
to dirty his hands on such a filthy door.
Oh, right. Well, shall we?
Wouldn't it be crazy if a monster just gobbled up your foot right now? Just a giant munch and...
That would be crazy.
No more foot.
That'd be so crazy.
Looks fine to me. Let's go inside.
What am I? Your test dummy?
That'd be so crazy.
And stop being such a dummy.
Who are you calling a dummy?
Yeah, Carol.
Promoted from test dummy to dummy.
What's this do?
The
Get
generator.
your grubby mitts off it. I don't want to have to tell you again.
It seems like it might be an activation switch for the warp blastia upstairs.
Nothing's happening. It doesn't have enough air.
Not enough air. I wonder if that ring I got in the Shaikos ruins might be able to do anything.
Ah, the sorcerer's ring. I'm not sure, but you might as well give it a try.
My time to shine.
Hell yeah. One shot.
It worked.
Maybe that means we'll be able to use the warp blasty upstairs.
Let's go.
Hopefully the monsters didn't respawn.
Was that it? That was it? Was that everything?
I think so.
Oh.
There's a turtle up there. Ah, no! The monsters respawn!
Just go away! Oh, Caprice of innocent waters! That's no good, Hammer!
Yeah, pow hammer.
Holy power, come to me! Darkness!
It'll be 100 years before you can beat me.
Because you've lived a lot longer, right?
Not
Man, I need to stop using so much MP.
Well, you are a ninja, so
Yeah. If you say so.
Yep, we can even tell Estelle to not use so much MP, or turn off her spells if we want to.
We got a
Nope.
head start.
It doesn't seem fair. Holy power, come to me! First
This poor guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy in particular.
Just absolutely just surrounded and rushed.
You ever curb stomp a fish?
yeah,
Pretty fun.
every day of my life.
What happened? What?
The fish talk shit.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, okay. That was a shitty. That was pretty bad. That was pretty fucking bad.
No! Don't jump down!
But there's other directions.
True. Oh, hey. Oh.
Whee!
It did nothing!
That moved us to the left.
It effectively did nothing.
It moved us to the left.
I wonder if right will work. Oh my god, that was so... that was backwards! That was not right.
It is in a rightwards direction.
That was that was so backwards.
It is technically right. The best kind of right.
Curve!
I don't know what you expect me to do. It flies over my head.
Oh my god. Curve, you're going crazy.
These birds deserve no mercy.
Man, I was just getting warmed up.
Okay, so maybe we run back a bit when the bird charges at us and we can avoid that.
But I'm doing this. That's the problem.
But the bird is too high for you to shoot it.
It's like, whoa, man. It's too fucking high, dude.
Easy win. Don't get cocky.
Dude, no way. I'm coming. Whenever
I like your little jump there.
Yeah. It was on purpose.
Turtle. Uh-oh, you got angry immediately.
Turtle.
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 Alright.
It's just one turtle.
Turtle.
This turtle ain't gonna like this. Can I have...
Ooh, a chest.
A what?
A chest.
Ah. A limit bottle. Fills the overload gauge fully once. Can only be used during battles.
Nice, we can spam limits.
Ooh. No.
Ooh, a save point.
And the
Oh,
same...
that's an important save. We gotta just keep that one.
I do it.
Ooh, a chest.
A cocktail
Cocktail.
dress. Delicious.
It goes on Yuri.
Yeah, boy.
King-sized belt.
belt.
That goes on repeat.
It's true. Oh. Oh. I guess. Do you want a cocktail dress?
Yeah.
Alright. How do you think? Yeah, you have. Do you want a king size belt?
I think that's just overall better. So yeah.
Okay. I don't know. You might not want to. I am for agency. I'm allowing agency to happen here. Ooh.
Oh, it's another one.
This one ain't gonna work either.
Oh god, please don't go backwards. Please. Pick the right
Move
choice.
to the left or move to the right.
Yay. We just clipped through that building.
How do we get down?
You can't.
Yeah, if you press A, that's probably to get down.
There's a lot of building here.
There's a lot of chests. Holy Raven.
Alright.
But I don't like that guy. Orange gel.
So you don't want the weapon?
Okay. Let's get the web. Holy Raven. Ooh.
You sure? You don't like the guy? I mean...
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, I wonder how it's gonna look.
Look fabulous.
Oh, another one. But there's so much we haven't explored yet.
It's true.
That's fine. Let's just go forward as soon as we can. Okay.
Turtle.
Turtle. You're doing a little shimmy.
Question mark. Got it.
We got a head start.
It doesn't seem fair. Holy power, come to me. First aid. Oh, gosh, here it is.
Oh, did you hear that, Toaster? Rita said that's no good.
Water no work on turtle.
No.
Hey!
Titsulagi.
A replica of an ancient double-edged sword.
Oh, you still need experience. Wait, experience share? What does experience share do?
It shares experience.
But what does it do exactly?
It shares experience.
Earn bonus experience without taking part. Oh, so Yuri's just gonna level up
No matter what.
faster? No,
Yeah.
because we all earn experience, but Yuri's just gonna level up faster.
He's gonna earn bonus experience without taking part in the battle.
Huh, so if he learns that skill, and then you don't play Yuri, he's gonna level up faster.
Yeah.
Was there a door there, or was there not?
I couldn't find a door.
Okay.
Alright, so this one... Been up there.
Ah, darn.
This looks easy. Don't let him
He got tired of it.
Okay.
Holy power, come to me. First aid. Power hammer. We finished them off.
Damn it.
I finished them off.
Huh?
Huh?
Huh? Cutscene?
So it looks
Holy.
like the Blood Alliance.
It looks
Isn't
like
here
the
after
Blood
all.
Alliance.
Those guys are the hunting blades.
That man. We saw him in Data on Hold.
Ah, now that you mention it, we did see him. So he's the leader of your guild then.
Oh, hey, remember that boss fight?
Fight that monster all by
Nope.
himself?
We had such fun with that boss fight, right?
Wait, man.
Oh, we did. Absolutely. Who?
He took it out in one hit?
That was a fatal strike.
A fatal strike.
It's a crazy powerful technique that extremely skilled swordsmen can use.
Like me.
Huh. So how do you do it?
How do you do it? How should I know?
Fatal Strike. A strong attack which throws your opponent off balance, followed by a single well-timed strike to finish the enemy.
But that's 2 attacks.
Is that something else you read in a book?
Yes, it...
I see. It sounds like it's easier said than done.
You see, the Fatal Strike is the second part.
You
I-
really want
but
to go
who did
back
the-
into your
okay.
guild, don't you?
What makes you say that?
Oh. Carol, are you going to go back to that guild?
I won't go back. I'm sick and tired of monster hunting.
Won't go back or can't go back? It sounded like you were fired.
No way! I'd been planning on leaving for a while.
Is that so? Well, no matter then.
So, Let's get going.
Well, I'm glad you're staying with us, Carol.
Anyway, what do you think they're doing with such a large contingent?
Yeah. This is actually the first time I've ever seen this many guild members gathered in one place.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of the members are loners. They tend not to travel in groups. And the chief being here is out of the ordinary too.
Curiouser and curiouser.
You wanna follow them and see what they're up to?
Nah, that sounds interesting, but I'm gonna keep going.
He's looking for members of the Blood Alliance after all. Right, Yuri?
Yeah, I don't want to worry about 2 guilds. 1 is more than enough.
I saw that.
What?
Estelle was skipped.
Oh, huh? Who?
Estelle's dialogue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No one's gonna back me up on this.
What? Okay. Alright.
How was that backwards? How?
Because you've lived a lot
What?
longer, right?
Not exactly.
I just saw Rita shoot 2 fireballs in completely the opposite direction of the enemies.
Yeah,
I know
I
what
don't
you're
know why
talking
it
about.
fucking lock on automatically.
Hey, you got a new
Feels
title.
weird.
Determined fighter.
Ooh. You can give Estelle the new weapon, I think.
Okay.
No.
No? Okay.
She's only allowed to use the base weapon.
The EP.
EP.
Ooh, she gets strength. She gets strong.
Nice.
She does that
Oh,
least
still
again.
do the experience share. What?
Oh.
Sorry if I hurt you.
Mimic.
Oh god, it's a mimic.
That's a powerful mimic.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
I'm coming too, guys. Hold up.
Oh shit. No, please.
Overdrive.
The cry of
Okay.
victory.
That wasn't so bad.
Nope.
Repeat.
Sandwich.
Yay. Man, if only we had better food that we could cook with all the new ingredients we got.
I don't know how to get better food. Hey, it's a lot of money.
Wow.
We're...
Well, if you go to the cook menu. Yeah, look at all the 4 foods we know how to make. We have 1 egg, so we can make 1 Salisbury steak.
Where's the Hungry Man meal? Where's my microwave meal?
There you go.
Rita's fried chicken and
Fried chicken and fries? Fuck yeah.
Sorbet.
Oh, if Rapide makes food, he's only gonna make dog food.
I can make a good fried chicken, I bet.
No, you don't understand. He's not gonna make the steak.
So it'll be a mistake then.
Yeah, it will be a miss.
It will also be a mistake.
Angry. Nope. You have to be perfectly level with them.
That's stupid. It's like Dark Soul parries all over again. Is this the Dark Souls of Tales games?
This is the Dark Souls of RPGs. Of JRPGs.
This is the Dark Souls of my existence.
There we go.
Man, that's deep
Hello,
and dark.
Dark Souls, my old friend.
Don't let him trip you up.
Oh my god, there's so many of them.
Yeah. Good thing we got that stun counter or whatever you call it. I'm getting bubbled.
I gotta go melee the next few encounters. I gotta.
You get magic attack plus 10% for cooking fried chicken and eggs. Okay.
Okay.
Chicken and fries. Get it right.
Oops.
Silly.
Fried chicken.
Or-
Chicken and eggs.
Or we could just feed Rita some gels right now.
We could, but we have all these. Oh, but my gels.
Let's see. Ooh, maximum TP. Yep, that's perfect for Rita.
Now we're poor again. We're gel.
And we can
poor.
also, and remember, we can also use Estelle's skills outside of battle. So, for example, Estelle has like 2 skills that increase our physical attack and our magic attack, and we can just use them to buff us before battle. Ooh, paralysis bottle would have been useful beforehand.
Yeah, but you don't want that.
Don't want it. Throw it
At
away.
least- At least we have paralysis bottle just in case. No, please don't.
We're good. All right.
We don't need it anymore, though.
It's true.
No,
we did
other
beat the
enemies-
boss.
Other enemies can paralyze us. It respawned. No.
Kill it. Kill it. Okay.
Oh no, I got angry.
Sorry if I hurt you.
Hey, at least there's only 3 of them this time.
Oh. Oh, okay. So fire is correct.
Yeah, I beat you into next week.
Next week?
Can you really do that?
Alright, don't need to go over there anymore.
Look out, the bird. Oh, that was
Burn
close.
up. Burn, burn,
Let-
burn.
What just happened?
I don't know.
Why was it yellow? Oh,
Oh, we have to practice the thing.
it's a tutorial.
Just now.
That fatal strike thing.
Is it something that can
That's
be
what yellow
done
means, I
so
think.
easily?
Mandatory encounter.
Yeah, I won't know if I can until I try. How did it go again?
First you attack the enemy to throw it off balance.
Alrighty.
Yuri.
Add an attack and prepare for a fatal strike. Oh.
Ooh.
I see it.
What do you see?
I see my opening to attack.
Press RT to trigger Fatal Strike.
Okay.
Skill, but it's not really that hard. You think you could do it while watching me? Alright, let's go.
Now XP and LP as well as item drop rate increases when you defeat an enemy with fatal strike.
Let's go.
What?
That was fun.
Amazing.
Does it just happen randomly? I don't know how to make it happen.
So it does happen randomly, and it seems to happen after you do an art. But now we've unlocked it, so it'll just like happen for every fight now.
Flickering blaze burn. Flickering blaze burn.
That fucking.
it was knocked down.
It was flattened.
Next week.
Next week? But can you really?
Never mind.
Nice.
You can recover and dash.
Oh, what do those do exactly? I know recover is if you get like knocked down, you can like not be knocked down. And then what does dash do? Oh, I'm just faster.
Yep.
Nice. Oh, she has 3 points to spend. Toaster, what do you think?
Strength.
Oh, you could get recover just in case.
But
What's
strength?
what's rhythm again? Wait, I already have that. Never mind.
You do
Yeah.
already have it. but
Yeah, all the green
that's-
stuff you already have.
Give me strength. Give me strength.
What? What?
Strength?
Not okay.
Well, I mean, my shit's already bad as is, so I mean, I might as well make it a little bit better.
What's
How do
critical?
I-
I'm curious. What does critical guard do? To guard while advancing, nullifies enemy attacks performed at the correct time. Oh, interesting.
It's like a parry.
Yeah.
It sounds
like
like
a
it,
parry.
yeah. You know, just like in Dark Souls,
Dark Souls, my old enemy.
he just has everything.
My old enemy.
What does taunt do?
It kills you.
Okay.
immediately.
Oh yeah, it does make it so more enemies attack Yuri, I think. Oh, taunt with to fill the over limit gauge. Action differs from taunt 2. There's more than one taunt?
I assume the taunt 2 does more taunting. Alright, so we've been over there. Where's the building with the spiral staircase? Is that this one? Or is that the other? No.
I feel like we passed that one, but I think we should go up.
We should go up?
Yeah. Maybe did we go right?
I think we did go right.
Okay.
Yes, because I opened that chest.
Okay. Yes. So now we go up. Oh no, it's behind
what
us.
An awkward spot.
Woo! Escape.
There we
Advantage.
Do it.
This looks easy.
Don't get careless.
Man.
All right.
They know each other way too well.
Oh,
Shut
that's
up.
so powerful.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We have it right where we want it.
This looks easy.
Don't let him trip you up.
Destruction field.
Oh, flickering blaze burn. Weak spot. Flickering blaze burn. Fireball. Oh, flickering blaze burn to me. Oh, flickering blaze burn.
Yeah, I beat you into next week.
Next week? But can you really?
Never mind.
You can
Okay,
really.
Sure. These are the threads that weave our future.
Nice. Also, in case you're wondering, Fatal Strike does happen pretty rarely early game.
Okay.
We're
I
still
was
early game.
wondering.
Yep, this is early game. We still haven't unlocked a lot of things that like open up the combat for us. Well, so most likely we were going to see the Fatal Strike on like the boss, for example.
Password clue.
Password clue 3. The word spear is written on it.
Alright, I know the password.
I think you need oh,
The media never-
leather armor. Put that on Yuri.
But chainmail.
No, leather is better.
I suppose.
It even says it's better than metallic armor.
Was that all that's in here? Alright. Now we go to Spiral Staircase, I think. Ah, big turtle!
It respawned.
Guess we can do this.
Oh, flickering blaze burn. Oh, flickering blaze burn. Wow, these
Where is she
buildings are
going?
from the late Elachasm civilization.
Later.
It must be a very old town.
You seem
I
to
thought
know
she
a
was
lot
gonna
about
keep
these
going.
things. As always.
It's such a shame they just let this city fall apart like this.
Do you really think we're in any
Oh,
position
where-
to be sightseeing around
Ah.
this moldy old city?
Ah!
We do have things we need to be doing.
Oh!
Then shouldn't we be focusing on them instead of this little tour?
Oh, wow. That round roof is using the Leon method, first developed by Emperor Heliodorus IV.
But I guess we should do something about that first.
Yeah.
Wow!
Holy shit.
They had a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah, I have fun with it too. Alright. So... Yeah...
Are we trying to find all the clues, or did we look
I
through everything?
mean, I guess I can check again, but
Not here. I don't think there's anything here. I don't think all the clues are going to be in this one house.
Oh, this is a different house.
Is it? Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
That's the house up there.
And there was that house up there was a dead end, right?
Yeah.
Damn. Have we gone
So-
all the way back down?
Nope. Back down's where the spiral staircase is.
Oh, cutscene.
I didn't have a chance to ask you this, but
You mean me?
why didn't you return to the capital when we were in Torum Harbor?
Why?
Oh yeah. Still wanted to tell Flynn that he's being hunted, right?
Yeah, at that point, your journey should have ended.
Well, you see,
Hey, by the way, who was hunting Flynn down anyway?
I'm not quite sure.
Wasn't it Rego?
Huh? That villain?
Yoda was on Rago's ship, and Yoda's the Imperial Prince.
Yeah, so...
I'm saying that I think Flynn's true mission was to find Yoder, though I don't know why things would end up that way between big shots from the same empire.
I'm sorry. I don't know either.
Well, that's okay. But what about you? Are you sure you don't want to go back?
Well, I kind of just went with the flow and came along from Torum Harbor. But I think maybe I wanted to keep traveling with everyone a bit longer. So, Besides, we still haven't gotten the Blastia core back yet.
That's true, but isn't that my business?
Can't I help out?
Yeah, sure. Feel free to come along.
Thank you.
Oh, I think there was a... Oh, like a maze.
How interesting.
Estelle looks as interested in cities as always.
Estelle, come on, let's stick together.
I'm fine.
The buildings are run down, it's overgrown, and this place is seriously built like a maze.
Whoa!
With all
Oh,
these
she's
obstacles in
gone.
the way, it's pretty tough to go where you want to go.
Huh? Estelle!
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
I thought I just said to stick together.
You all need to be more careful. I've never seen anyone get lost so easily.
Alright. So there was a... Forgot that there was another place I haven't double checked. What's the word? Should we double check the house up there that I forgot to check, or...?
Yeah, maybe we're trying to look for the clues.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
It
Let's
looked
not
to me.
look for the clues.
Nope.
Door.
Okay, that leads us here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens
down
if we
to
go
the
right
right?
here? Do we go down or up?
We do.
Okay.
Is there a door? Nowhere to go here.
No, that's a bird. Okay.
Yeah. Damn bird being a jerk.
And we checked downstairs, right?
Yeah, that's the big spiral staircase. Which we haven't gone all the way down, but I assume it it will lead somewhere.
Oh,
Like,
maybe we can go down
spot
here.
relevant.
Yeah.
We go down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we gonna have enough time? Like, are you gonna have enough time?
Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Do you have enough time?
Nope. I'm all out
We
of
are-
time.
Out of time.
You're out of touch? You're out
Just
of time?
use Fennel.
What a thrill.
No, that's a ladder.
What's up? I feel kind of sick all of a sudden.
Even someone as dense as you can feel it?
Who are you calling? Wait, does that mean you can feel it too?
What a feeling.
Yuri. Estelle too?
Repeat's fine.
Not repeat.
Fine.
Don't overexert yourself. We can rest here and have a look around.
Why would you want to rest here if if it makes you sick?
What's going on? Ever since we got here...
If a monster attacked us right now, I don't think I'd be up to it.
Saying stuff like that is the best way to attract monsters, you know.
Yuri!
If you're gonna keel over, couldn't you do it in the middle of a crowded city street? I can't be expected to be there to catch you every time.
Yes, thank you. I'm still doing okay.
This is air.
What? I thought air couldn't be seen with the naked eye.
If it's dense enough, it can be.
Estelle, weren't you saying something about that earlier? That dense air is bad for the body.
Yes. High-density air can occasionally have very negative effects on the human body.
It made you pass out in the Koi Woods, too.
Really? Wow.
Maybe we should get out of here.
But we still haven't made sure if the mercenaries are here or not.
I guess that's true, but...
Let's keep moving.
Look at her saunter over.
It looks like this Blastia is linked to the door.
How do we open it?
It seems that we have to carefully put together the symbols to form the right phrase.
Wouldn't it be faster to break in?
That's not a good idea. What if it makes the door stop working?
Hey, something's coming out of it.
So, should we just put some letters in here?
What letters?
We need some sort of clue, or else this door won't open.
Haha, the clues.
Crash, crash, crash.
Oh, Jesus.
Yo, it's Dupless.
So clue
The
3
name's-
was
The name's Dupless.
spear. Maybe... I wonder if I can Google the answer.
I mean, I'm sure you can.
So here?
Damn, guess I was wrong.
I wonder if it lets you even skip it if you haven't seen the other notes.
Probably not.
Oh, I know the answer if you guys want to know.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't care.
The answer is sun.
Sun?
S-U-N.
That was my next guess. All capital?
I don't think it matters, but S, capital S, lowercase u, lowercase n.
Well, it's too late.
Hey.
It's one of those games where it don't care.
Got it.
Yay.
We breaking in. Breaking in and entering.
Oh, shit.
Hey, it's the ring thing from up there, but now it's down here.
No way.
Now it's up there.
No, there's the water.
Floating?
So we could have got here by just jumping down the water.
Looks like that Blastia is causing it.
Indeed.
And probably this strange feeling as well.
Huh. He's similar to the ones at Emmead Hill in Capua Nor.
Is it broken?
When a Blastia breaks, it loses its ability to take in air. There's no way it would get like this.
So, what's going on?
I don't know. What could he be trying to do?
His taxes?
Was that a monster?
Oh shit.
Oh, not taxes.
Monster!
Take it easy, you're not feeling well. And there aren't any doctors around here.
Huh? But I... Ah!
The barrier's gonna fail.
Don't worry.
Not
That's
the
a reverse
barrier.
barrier.
Not the
Reverse
baby!
It's a powerful barrier for holding monsters. He won't get out of there anytime soon. But the air here, this isn't normal.
Is the monster about to get breakthrough?
It's starting to disappear.
Yeah, yep.
Rita!
Rita?
Calm down. I'll have it fixed in no time.
How? You can't even get up there.
Now calm down, I'll have it fixed in no time. Just don't worry about it.
Well put.
Tyson?
Tyson?
Like Mike?
Like the chicken?
Like the air fryer?
None of us here are nice enough to take your friendly warning seriously.
You don't say.
Like,
Well now,
Like a guy named Ty's son?
Yeah. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger?
Ty?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You sure talk big. Taking care of a pet is a big responsibility, and don't go abandoning him for someone else to take care of.
No fucking way.
Dragon Rider!
Him again.
Dragoon.
Not him again.
Oh shit.
Hey, I feel better.
The barrier's down.
Of course! That dragon freak broke the Blastia! You're dead, freak! Dead!
Is that Flynn? Ah, it's like an even bigger turtle.
Well, it couldn't be Flynn because the rider last time. Assuming this is the same rider, Flynn was there when the rider was doing shit.
Yeah, exactly. They're in the same room, so they could be the same person.
What?
Is it Yuri?
Yeah, it's Yuri Lowenthal.
Nice.
The voice, just the voice actor.
Yeah.
Looks like he wants the first piece of action, Clint. Well, come and get some then.
Whee!
Yeah, you can't get him. You can't possibly get the White Rider. Hey, White Rider. I gotta say, there's something off about your design. Can't exactly place what it is.
It's very... what's the word? Pointy.
Something strange about that.
Like it before.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh!
Nah, I'm sure you're imagining it.
Oh, no, I'm
Guess we gotta take care of
just
someone else's
thinking of
pet.
something stupid, probably.
Probably.
Ah, shit. Boss battle time. Oh, hi,
Just
Yuri.
Yuri. Ah! I like this theme though. This is cooler than any of the other fucking themes I've heard.
I like the regular boss theme. Hi, it's me.
Hey! Oh, I got double hit.
I'll fight too.
Oh, good. You're player 3.
Wait.
Wait.
Why
what?
is... Oh, no.
Oh, because she's not available or something.
Nah, she'll probably hop in soon. Or Carol will.
Sorry,
There she is.
Oh, you fucking
Oh,
asshole.
NPC Rita.
Pow hammer. Pow hammer. Pow hammer.
Owie.
Oh, the secret mission is attacking him when he does his little chest beat there.
Attack
Ow.
him during it? Or what?
Hey man, I don't know how to use any of her shit.
That's fine. Life bottle.
Thank you.
Apple gel.
God damn.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my god. If I knew how to heal, this wouldn't be an issue. Okay. Do you wanna like let me see the arts so I can properly help?
This is very unfortunate. Oh. Oh god, she's on manual.
Pow hammer, Starstroke is left and right. I guess we can replace the second pow hammer with the sharpener.
Oh,
First
second
aid.
power with what? Sharpness?
No. First aid's fine. I want that on the right stick, definitely. Starstroke and... Barrier? Barrier!
Physical defense. Alright.
Physical defense.
Do you want to change anything else?
Yeah, change that barrier to...
What's photon?
Photon is her
Light
ranged
attack.
light attack.
Light magic.
Yeah, fuck it.
All right.
All right.
You good?
Let me see what recover is.
Wait, why don't we just change Estelle and Rita in the party?
Can I?
You can try, I guess.
Like I don't know.
So yeah, so where Estelle is right now, just switch her with Rita.
How?
Get out of this. Go to the main. Fuck.
Arts.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
No, it has to be.
Wait. Oh, this is lame as fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of other attacks like up there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Like Power Hammer.
She has Pierce Cluster.
Oh shit. Oh. I thought recover was gonna be a revive or some sort.
Nope.
No, it's only physical ailments.
Oh,
I think that's all the good ones.
Oh, the barrier here. And I will put this straight here. Starstroke can stay where it is. Just as long as first aid is here, it should be okay. I'm about to start healing. Oh my god, I can't.
What's up?
Yeah, go ahead. Dude,
Wait.
I didn't do anything. That was.
No, I'm trying to look for. I don't think we can, but what's X? Oh, there it is. Just. Okay, it doesn't matter.
I think it's fine. I think we're good. Full attack. Fuck it. Use all of the TP.
Full. Okay. Magic only. Keep your distance.
Never use. Or no.
Don't use anything. Do not overlimit,
use,
or do you
use items?
Use items? Up to you.
Up to you.
Okay, up to you. Do we want her to overlimit?
No.
No. Okay. I'll supposed aim whenever there's a chance. Okay.
Speaking of, should someone overlimit?
Yeah. That's good.
Damn it! I'm about to heal. I'm literally about to heal. I'm literally about
only if you have
to
item
heal.
thrower. Does Yuri have item thrower?
No, but still does.
Otherwise I have to heal myself. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
God, I did not mean to fucking
That's fine.
overlimit.
Just attack.
Did not mean to do that.
That's fine. Oh, fuck. Did anyone get it that?
God damn. Alright.
Damn, that happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Nice. Ow. Oh, good.
Oh, jeez.
I don't want to be here. Oh.
Oh. Wait.
We're stunned.
Damn it. I was gonna...
What you doing?
Item, maybe?
I don't even know what the fuck just happened.
I don't know. You pressed Y or triangle or whatever.
Happened for
me. I thought somebody else was doing it.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
You did great, Toaster, for being a sudden Estelle.
Yeah. Y'all did great.
I figured out how to heal at the last second.
Estelle, you fuck up!
And also, Kerf, that was amazing. I did not know how you got that Fatal Strike.
Oh, I pressed the button.
It's just like, it only shows up for like a second. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, it does. I just
Jesus.
Oh man, we did it. That was a tough battle, everyone.
Now it's time for phase 2.
Could be. Oh, no secret mission. Damn.
I want phase 3,
Sorry.
baby.
They shouldn't make them secret if it makes it so you can do the thing.
Yeah, it is kind of bullshit that they don't tell you about those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does suck.
I get replayability, but how many hours is this for a casual playthrough?
Well, the thing is... Well, yeah, how long is it for a casual playthrough? Like 40 hours?
Yeah, like 60 hours, and then if you want to complete it, it's like 120.
Jesus Christ.
So that's a lot to expect from a player.
What about Carol?
I get replayability, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. It's also like... If they don't hint at it at any point during the game, then it's like, how would I even know?
Yeah.
Without a guide.
It's true. It's to sell guides. You should have bought the Tales of Vesperia guide.
You're so right. So fucking right.
Oh. That was easy.
It's not gonna hold.
I mean, it's not that much water.
Chief, we have to withdraw.
It didn't look like that much water.
The entire roof is going to collapse on top of us.
No, that's a different story.
We should leave too.
It's not fair! I wanted to beat the hell out of that freak, too!
Wait, where did Carol go?
He isn't out here and probably left before us. We'll look for him as we go.
Oh wow, Carol was just... Oh, what?
Carol left the party.
Was he even allowed to fight there?
Nope.
What a thrill.
That's a ladder! This is stairs!
We were using Carol so much.
It's true. Carol is my favorite.
You know... Let me stop.
Hmm? Hmm?
Don't worry about it, it's fine. This will overwrite all your stupid freaking data, dude.
Oh no, Carol is gone.
Forever.
Carol died. Carol died, dude.
Well,
I knew you'd die.
Yeah, the kid with the hammer always dies in these Tales of games.
Something comes up, and it's just poof, you're gone. Always running away by yourself.
It's not like that!
She sounds so much like Rita.
Not like what?
Like I said back in Halure.
Here,
I'm not
let me
talking
see.
about Halure. If you're not ashamed of anything, then shouldn't you hurry back to your friends?
I think she's Sakura from Naruto, too.
It's just that... No need to explain to me. I think
Maybe
you've
not.
got other people
It's been a
who
while
listen
since I've
to
seen
you.
Naruto.
Huh? Guys.
Carol, I'm so glad you're safe.
Where the hell did you go? We were really in a jam back
I think it's a different person.
I'm
Probably.
sorry.
Hey, at least you made it out in one piece.
Pat.
Leaving.
Wait!
You think long and hard about what you've done. That's all I have to say to you.
Hey, cut it out!
Let's get going, Carol. We're all tired.
Yuri.
I mean, she does play in Persona 3 as well.
Man, we were way off.
Oh, it's Yukari. That's who it is.
Oh, it's not Yukari.
Damn it.
it's one of the teachers in the Reload, and
Yukari.
she plays
No kidding.
plays Fuka in Dancing in Moonlight.
That guy gives us with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Oh, she plays Miu Iruma and Akane Owari from Danganronpa.
I don't know names.
Yeah.
You
Wait, Mew
little
is
freak.
that the scientist one?
Miu is the scientist lady.
Yeah, I remembered.
Oh, I'm gonna roast that deadbeat the moment I see him.
Akane is athletic lady.
I don't. Oh, the big buff. Big buff one
That
from
is
the
not-
first game.
No. Hold up.
Let's take it easy on the way back.
Man, it's been a minute since I played Danganronpa.
Let's play
I'm not-
Danganronpa.
Yeah, why are we not playing Danganronpa right now? Best game of all time.
We have to wait for the new Danganronpa to come out, the Fire Emblem one.
It's
They're
not.
making
It's
a
not
Fire Emblem
Danganronpa.
one? That's it.
You know-
Oh yeah, that one.
You know it's Danganronpa with a difference, Ian.
It's not
Wasn't there a different game already that came out that has the same artist as Danganronpa, like Raincode or
yeah.
something?
Yeah, it's Raincode.
Yeah.
And I've not played it. And there's also another one, I think. Has to do with baseballs, or is that a series?
Just a handy substance for
I don't
making Blastia work, huh?
The questions amateurs ask, I swear.
I hate when people ask
Our
things,
own bodies,
have an
the
interest
growth
in the
of
mysteries of
organisms,
life.
Even the weather.
So the Blastia in Rago's palace that controlled the weather was interfering with the air?
Correct.
So then, that means the air here is interfering with the processes in our bodies.
I mean,
Oh,
I
he
can
worked on-
handle it,
he
but
worked
is it
on
really
Clock
a good
Tower
idea
3.
for us to be in
Oh,
air this
shit.
dense?
I've
We
never
shouldn't
played a
stay
Clock
here too
Tower.
long, especially
Aren't they?
runts like
Didn't they
you.
make a
Neither
remake
have
or
I.
something?
The younger you are,
Yeah, they
the
have
more
a
effect
remake
there
coming
will
out
have.
soon.
Huh.
Yeah.
Guess that makes sense.
Also, a remake of that other game, Lollipop Chainsaws.
Chain Souls.
Chainsaws. It's the Dark Souls of looking at a cheerleader's skirt.
The common rabble.
Oh, it's a game
Some
and
more.
it has an anime.
That's far
Okay.
enough.
What is?
Tribe 9. That baseball
Oh, is it
thing
the
I was
baseball
talking
one? Oh,
about.
wasn't that like a mobile game?
Let's see. It's a multimedia franchise.
Guys,
It
it's Cumore.
I know,
consists
it's
of an
Cumore.
action.
No, it's Cumore.
Come more.
Lackeys must have had a lot
They
of
say
time on
Cumore.
your hands
Come
if you
more.
crossed the ocean
More.
just to see us.
You're a
If we
to talk down to the likes
if we
of
continue out, you're gonna have to say Kamor.
Princess,
No.
not this way.
Don't continue. Damn it.
Oh, okay.
What does he mean?
Yeah. We need Al to agree with us.
Oh, that's true.
And,
It's true.
and Ald's want to play this game. I feel is a bit
It is your pittance. It is your toll. This is the troll
I-
toll.
I don't
troll
deserve.
tool. You do deserve this.
No. I just
Think
wanted
about-
to play a funny game.
Think about what you've done.
Well, I didn't do anything.
True, you didn't say come more. If you did that,
Yeah.
then
This wouldn't have happened
No.
if you just said fucking Kamor.
No, please.
come
If
more.
they say his name, you'll understand.
They're wrong. That's the thing, though.
No, you're
You're
Listen,
listen- just
you're
listen to
fighting
it.
for the wrong side of history, Al.
Please.
we're in charge of how these game designers pronounce the name.
It's true. It's true.
We're in
Who
charge
are you
of-
going to believe? The guy that made the game and voiced the character and wrote down the words, or us?
Please, you just gotta listen to it once and you'll understand.
No.
Oh,
I
it
think
looks like
you don't,
Seymour.
Irma doesn't understand that come more is just the better name.
Kamor.
Like
Say
cucumber.
it.
You know, like
Say it.
like
Say
cucumber.
it.
Yeah. Now say it.
It's Cumore, like cucumber.
No. Yeah, like cucumber.
The first part.
Yeah, you're right. Come or is like the first part of come or is like the second part of cucumber.
No. Please just listen to it. Let the voice actors say it.
Oh yeah, but what if it's
Princess standing right here in front of us.
I didn't
Come
say
or,
it.
like,
I'm sorry. So we'll have to just assume it's come or.
Yeah.
No, they'll say it eventually, right?
Well, I mean, you could say it right now.
No, they'll say it. They'll say the
Yeah, but you could say it.
the way to say it. You know.
You could say it the right way though. That's what.
Yeah, who cares what those people think?
Yeah.
I don't see the issue. Anyways.
Yuri, but how did you...
Oh, did they not know she was a princess?
What? Estelle's a princess?
I suspected as much myself.
What?
Rita.
How did you
I like
guys
that
not...
Repeat's still, like, toked up, ready to fight.
Wait, you've got to be kidding.
And what will happen to my friends?
Why, they'll be drawn and quartered for abducting a member of the royal family, of course.
Nah, we'll
Please,
fight these
wait.
fuckers.
I wasn't abducted.
Ah, what a mouthy young lady you are. This way, please.
Who plays... Kamor?
Estelle!
What about Kamor?
Now
I'm looking...
die like the flies you are.
Arrest the
Voice
culprit
actor.
Yuri Lowell and his accomplices.
Oh no, it's conflict of power or whatever.
You, the Swan Brigade.
Oh, guy, he's got a codpiece.
Just a minute. This prize catches mine. I want
Oh
you to
yeah,
take it
okay.
from me,
That is
please.
Gwymor Vice.
Yeah. Also, Azura from Azura's Wrath.
Oh shit.
Our duties are not to be carried out in the fashion of a hunt.
And it's...
Did I not also hear
Also,
someone
it's,
mention dying earlier?
Doctor Strange. and Red Skull.
What is wrong?
Ah shit, that's Benedict Cumberbund?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Should not criminals be captured and judged in
Ba- ba- ba-
accordance
ba-
with the laws?
Cumberboom. Cumberboom Bababoom.
Suppose I can let you have these little
Oh shit, that's Infinite from Sonic Forces.
Yeah, it is.
These upstart commoners
Oh,
are so
fuck
full of
yeah.
themselves.
I've never played Sonic Forces.
That commandant.
This way,
It's also
please, Your
Laszlo in
Highness.
Fire Emblem
Do watch your
Fates.
step.
I thought it was gonna be Laszlo from Camp Laszlo.
That'd be sick.
But I...
That would be.
Yes, right this way.
Arrest them in the name of Captain Schwan.
Who?
Okay, Yuri Lowell.
That
gang.
one.
It's curtains for you, I say.
Yo.
What do you mean, gang? Hey! Get
Do you
your
think they
hands
asked
off
Yuri
me!
Lowenthal
Do
to
you
play
know who I
Yuri
am?
Lowell?
Yeah,
But I haven't done anything.
Don't hurt
probably.
them. I beg you.
Estelle, don't worry.
Yuri.
Just start walking. Walk, I say.
Ow! Hey, watch it with the pulling.
Sir Schwan, we shall take these undesirables to Heliord.
Why are you up there?
Because I can be.
Okay.
All members, fall out.
I felt like climbing today.
Estelle earned this title Royal Successor.
Yay.
Yeah.
And left the party.
Damn.
Yay.
We didn't need her anyway.
Continue
That's
true.
on.
I mean, we
will
kinda
review
do.
The particulars of your 18th crime.
Yay.
Please do.
Is it true that you threw a knight sent to collect the taxes into the river?
Wow, I'd forgotten about that. Was that you, Tweedledee?
That's right. I was in
Oh,
bed with
shit.
a cold for 3 whole days thanks to you.
How many more of these are there? This is getting pretty boring.
I wonder what'll happen to me.
So I'll write, you have no signs of remorse in the report then.
Where's that do-nothing captain of yours anyway? What was his name? Schwan?
Playing hooky because he's the big shot.
You dare mock our captain? Sir Schwan is a legendary hero and a veteran of the Great War 10 years ago.
So basically, His Eminence would never stoop so low as to deal with nobodies like us.
Quiet, I say. Quiet.
Your Excellency, Commandant Alexei.
Elf
to what do we
ears.
owe this pleasure?
Alexei, what?
All your crimes are hereby pardoned by the good graces of their highnesses Esteles and Yoder.
What? But these foul criminals have disturbed the peace of the Empire!
Not the peace of the
Imperial
Empire.
Knights thank you for rescuing Prince Yoder and protecting Princess Esteles.
Please, take this.
We've got no need for this. It's not like we did those things for the sake of the knights.
I see.
What about Estelle?
It looks like she just dropped it.
She has just given her consent to be returned to the Imperial capital.
What? Well, I guess she is a princess after all.
The princess is waiting at the inn. We would be pleased if you made an appearance.
What?
Yeah, you found him.
He's very conspicuous. Guess you found me. You're pretty good. I'll teach you to cook as a reward. Learn the recipe for fish with miso.
So,
I'll give you this so you can practice. Contain 3 sets of ingredients. Gotta go till we meet again.
increases physical defense slightly. Nice.
I was so surprised to find out that Estelle was a princess.
I had a feeling. She knew Flynn, and she was obviously brought up as a noble.
Shut up. You knew already.
Maybe.
Oh, man. I wonder if I was rude to her without realizing it.
Your language has been unpardonable. Captain Carroll, the sentence for insulting royalty is decapitation. Been nice knowing you.
What about you? You're way more rude than I am.
Guess it's off with both our heads then.
What? That's...
Idiots.
All right. What a cool conversation they had.
Just right there in front of everyone.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sup, dude? Effort always bears fruit.
Nope, go ahead. Do it.
Persevering until your harvest of fruit is the definition of effort. People put faith in notions like that and then die in obscurity. Just like me.
Throughout history, there have always been 2 types of people. That's right, the rulers and the ruled. Here's my ruler right now.
That's a yardstick.
Smack.
What's this mark by the 4-inch line?
Shut up.
Problem with this, Yuri?
It's not my decision to make.
Well, I guess that's true, but...
More importantly, where are we?
This is the city of Heliord. Geographically speaking, it's located between Torum Harbor and the city of Dongrest. It was only just recently built. It's still a very new town. If you follow this road to the east, you'll hit Cair Bakram, where we were earlier. Cut through the west and go to the northwest to reach Dongrest.
He's like a living map.
Well, maybe I'll have a look around the town a bit.
Alright.
I've got my own business to attend to.
What to do?
Parted with everyone. Forever. The Rising City. Heliord.
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 Amor.
I can't go back to the hunting blades. What am I gonna do?
I guess.
Try to save point.
No.
No.
You should keep playing.
Okay. We should save though. We did just fight a hard boss.
No. No save run. After 9 hours.
Okay. After
Oh,
9
hey, they're
hours.
Flynn.
Yep.
Oh, hey, they're Repeat. Woof!
Man. Wait, what did Rita say?
Something about the Blastia.
Is this a town's blast yet?
Indeed!
That's strange.
Date.
Ah, so both of you were here the whole time.
Yuri, watch your speech in front of His Royal Highness. You could at least show due courtesy to the gracious pardoner of your crimes.
It's okay, Flynn. Miss Estelise and I acted of our own volition.
You've already heard about Lady Estelise then, I see.
Yeah, I heard.
Yuri, I thought that traveling with you would be to Her Highness's own benefit, but...
The royal family can't be allowed to romp all over the countryside without restraint.
That's not very convincing coming from you.
I apologize. But now especially, it's undesirable for the royal family's concerns to be brought into the public eye.
Concerns? You mean whether you or the princess is next in line for the imperial throne?
Correct. There are currently two opinions. That of the Imperial Knights, and that of the Council.
Your Highness!
There's no use hiding any details from him when he already knows so much. The Imperial Knights are backing my own ascension to the throne.
That's how he knows so much. People keep just telling him things for no reason.
Meanwhile, Miss Estelise has the support of the Council.
Well, she's a princess after all.
Yes. Her relation may be a distant one, but she's unmistakably of royal blood.
That's gotta be tough for the Knights, too. Even if she's the rival of their candidate for the throne, it's not like they can just stop protecting the princess, is it?
Yuri, this matter is...
I don't know anyone odd enough to be interested in information like this. Well, I'm gonna go drop by Estelise's place, and then I'm gonna take a load off at the inn. Thanks for the chat.
Are we gonna be able to talk to Estelise? Where is Estelise?
Yeah, she's somewhere.
What is this?
It's a blockage. You can't go there.
Yeah, but like, what is it supposed? It's like 5 tons of concrete.
Maybe it's like a paper wall thing.
Maybe. It's so thick,
they can,
though.
So they can like lift it when they want to.
I guess. Not a very good blockage, but okay.
Wait, I say! Hey, it's Tweedle-A and Tweedle-B.
Don't call us that!
Something I can help you two with?
Even if you have a direct pardon from His Highness Yoder, I say that does not change the fact that you committed crimes against the Empire!
As members of the Imperial Knights, our honor will not allow us to simply let that slide.
Yuri Lowell, you will battle with us
Oh,
here,
no.
I say, fair and square.
Oh no.
If you beat us, we'll recognize you as innocent of your crimes.
Don't make claims you can't back up. Since when did you
What if I
two have
died
the
here?
authority to forgive people their crimes?
Regardless, we must battle.
Battle!
If that's what
Battle.
it takes to make you happy, I guess I can humor you.
Excellent. Come with us.
Battle?
Oh. I really hoped he would just turn around.
Battle?
Battle.
Kiss your freedom goodbye. We're in.
I
Battle?
say, prepare to face the Imperial Knight's ultimate fighting technique, the Burst Art!
Is this a teaching lesson?
Claiming regular
It's a
talent
tutorial,
is
yes.
wrong. That doesn't
Okay.
belong to the Knights.
I say be quiet!
The Burst Art, huh? I've heard of it before.
You don't know how it's done? You fool!
I say we shall show you, but before that happens, you'll be reduced to no more than a worthless...
Why I gotta fight
dog rolling on
Waluigi?
the ground. I say...
Maybe it has something to do with Overlimit.
Go! Show him how it's done, Adacor!
I say watch me now! The arcane art of the Imperial Knights!
Hit him! What are you doing?
Huh. Burst arts can be linked from an arcane art. I wonder if I could imitate that.
There's no way an amateur could do something like that, I see.
And now, Overlimit.
I'll blow you away!
Ah, be careful! Yuri Lowell's going to attack!
Arcane art, crushing eagle!
Okay. Burst Art by holding A after an arcane art.
Hot damn!
Could have used that earlier.
Burst Art!
I say what a terrible turn of events!
Oh.
Well, shit.
Might wanna heal.
That's enough for today. I say, Sonic Thrust! Wolf Strike! Take that's enough for today.
Thrilling gameplay.
What was that?
And Kerf, do you know?
What?
Oh boy.
All right. You're dead.
And Kerf, do you block, or you know which button is block? Okay. Oh, you can like run away and do as your edge spam, maybe.
That's true.
Oh, it's no longer July 12th. Damn it. I think Dokapon was on sale.
Oh! That was almost a fatal strike. Yes!
Why am I walking?
I've had enough of you.
I love that he blocks by just turning around.
Yep, that's where his shield is.
He does a full-on Kid Link when he has the fucking Hyrule shield. Oh.
I'll blow you away. That hurt. I've had enough of you.
Got him.
Man,
Yep.
I was just getting warmed up.
I just had to use up all my food. All my apples.
Got their asses.
All
Hell
right.
yeah, experience share.
Finally.
Nothing like some good exercise before turning in for the night. I guess I'll hurry back to the inn.
New page been added to the battle book.
Alright, now we just gotta remember all of our arcane arts and that we hold down the button when we're in over limit to make a burst art.
Yep, totally gonna remember that.
Suragi.
Look how much more it was. No wonder
Goddamn.
No wonder I was dying. That's what the problem was. Not me.
Yeah.
It's not a skill issue.
It's not.
Where's
Definitely
the end? What is that wall?
It is a wall.
Yeah, but
Oh, look for the...
Look at it in all of its glory.
Yeah, look for the signpost, maybe? No, there's only like two
glory.
buildings in there.
Oh, hey, they're already in the chat. Oh, shit.
What?
Oh, I'm talking about the D&D thing.
Oh. Yeah.
Yep.
So, time to go?
Yep, time to go.
Time to go. Alright.
Alright.
Gotta remember to buy some
Thank-
stuff.
Another successful
Thank you,
session.
YouTube. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna go myself.